Live life so that you create good vibes. The good vibes. Live life so that you radiate good vibes. The good vibes. Live life so that you generate good vibes. The good vibes. Live life so as to emanate good vibes. The good vibes. Spread the message of your life with good vibes. With good vibes. With good vibes. Welcome to the Good Vibes podcast. Hey my friends, and welcome to this episode of the Good Vibes. I'm super excited that you are over here. Today we will continue on our journey of evolved learning. Evolved learning is when we learn from all the people in our lives and otherwise, all the things and experiences that we encounter. In general, we learn from life. So get pumped up now to feel alive with the good vibes. Hey my friends, and welcome to the Good Vibes. Today's podcast topic is the small things matter. Let's think about it for a moment. If I asked you, define me the small things in your life, what would come to your mind? What comes to my mind is the small interactions or the interactions of the day which I have with all the people around me. That's one small thing because it's a big part of my day, but it's in small quantities and it seldom defines my day. It seldom used to define my day, but now I've made it. I'll talk about this in a few minutes, but now I've made the small things start to define my day. Okay, the second thing that would come to my mind is how I've been, or my personal integrity. Have I maintained? Have I lived up to who I am? Have I lived up to the qualities that I truly believe in? These are small things when you look at it, because these are not talked about and it's not projected in a way which makes you think about it as a big thing. It's always projected like it's one of those things that you need to keep in mind, but continue your day however you're going. I'm telling you that the small things which I'm defining, I've come up with two. Maybe you can come up with something. Maybe it could be being late for being 5 or 2 minutes late. If you see the army men, they're very, very finicky and particular about time. They're dot on time, and I've had friends who are dot on time. And I used to consider it as a small thing. It's just 2 minutes, right, after all. But it's one of those things you consider not so important. So essentially, a small thing is anything that you're doing on a regular basis or you're doing it occasionally, it doesn't matter. But you consider it to not be important. And you go on doing it without your 100%. And these are things you can feel. I don't need to tell you. I can't be there with you and pinpoint where you're doing something, where you're not doing something. You know those small things in life that you encounter every single day, but sometimes you really don't live it completely. You don't put up your best self over there. You don't give it as much thought as it requires. Those are when you're missing out on the small things. So today's podcast is telling you that the small things matter and they are really, really important. So firstly, why we should care about the small things is because it's for the self-image that we have of ourselves. It's a matter of self-prestige. It's a matter of respecting yourself. Not to gain respect from all the people around you, but respecting yourself. If you call yourself courageous, if you call yourself humble, or if you call yourself anything, you got to do the small things that it takes to be a courageous, a humble, or a respected person. If you call yourself something, or if you do something, if you say something, you have to live up to it. You have to make sure that what you say is done. And if you don't mean something, or if you don't mean to do something, it's best not to state it. Say no to such things. It's a matter of it's a matter of self-respect. A small thing could also be white lying, which may be considered a done thing by our society, but is that your integrity? Do you consider yourself a white liar? I personally do not, and I don't like to white lie. I'd rather tell the truth, so the person who's counting on me knows that I let them down, or I had a genuine reason. So that keeps me on the lookout to not do it again. And by avoiding white lying, I go and put my vulnerability to the world and saying that this is what actually happened. This is the honest answer. And when I say that, I know myself that it either needs to improve, and I also know that I did the right thing. So I don't like white lying. So that's one of the things which you need to ask yourself, whether what you're doing, are you doing it to your true integrity? Are you living up to your self-respect? Because if you want to be really, really happy and positive throughout life, the one thing that always remains with you is how true you are with yourself. Because once you reach any stage of life, and anytime you reach a stage where you start introspecting whether you are true to yourself, you are authentic, if you've not done the small things, you're going to be disappointed with the answers that are going to come up. Because the internal answers are always correct. If it's coming from the heart, you can't fool yourself a million times. So, to be really, really happy, to have that self-prestige, that self-respect, stop doing the things that you don't feel pertain to your character. You don't feel aligned with your character. And if that involves defining your character again, if someone, you could do this exercise. Imagine a friend describing you. What are the qualities you would want your best friend or a person you just met for 15 minutes or a day, what would you want him to describe you as? What are those qualities that you want to project? And the qualities that he or she states, are you doing the small things to make sure that you're living up to that quality? Now, that's self-prestige which I'm talking about. So do it for your self-prestige, because that's key to living a really, really happy life. If you're true to yourself, no one can beat you. You feel that internal joy which no one can take away and no one needs to take away too. You're going to feel it. It's going to help you lead a happier life. The second point for the podcast is the big things are made of small things. Very often we leave our best selves, we leave the best of our abilities, our full potential for that big chance in the future. That big chance where we're going to show it when we are on stage or when we are in the battle arena. That's when we leave the small things for. That's where we leave being good for. That's where we leave being intentional for. Now, small things like I told you, having interactions with the people around you. How often do you not give it a second thought, whether you're projecting the energy you want to feel or whether you're being positive to the people around you? Are you just putting people down or criticizing people unnecessarily? Are you sometimes being a less accepting person than you are? Because you're not giving a second thought to what you're doing or where you're doing. You're just leaving that for another chance to meet a president or something. So when you meet a really, really important person, then you start projecting who you are and how you want the world to see you. Or you're leaving your best self for that next social engagement, that next social party, where you're going to really show what a lively and happy person you are. Are you doing that? Because that's leaving the small things for the big chance. But the truth is, the big thing is made of small things. And if you're not doing the small things on a regular basis, you're not going to last long in the big arena. If you want to be in the big arena forever, if you want to live a legacy, and you want to be on the big world stage, you have to really fine-tune and perfect your small things to such perfection that you cannot be faulted on the big stage. Just think of how an actor rehearses his dialogue again and again and again and again and again. And when he goes on stage, it just comes out naturally. He doesn't need to put on a show. And you can make that out. You can make out the actors, if you've been to drama, you can make out the actors who've really done their homework and who have left it. You can make out the difference between a person who's done his homework, and you can make out the difference between someone who's left it to the last moment to try and put on his best show, whatever he's got when he's on the stage. But the truth is, the second actor is putting on his best right there, whereas he should have done it in the rehearsal. So your rehearsal should be about making sure that you get the small things correct, making sure that all your interactions project positivity and make your immediate close ones feel supported by you. Ask for a review. Has this conversation made you feel more supportive? Ask the people around you, because these are the small things that really, really matter. Maybe a small thing is apologizing for a small mistake of yours which you didn't let your ego do. You didn't let your ego apologize for some small thing. Apologize for it, because that's a small thing and it matters. You'll not know how it matters. You'll not know. I can't give you such answers because that's your life. But when you experience it, and out of wisdom, you'll start knowing that these small things are actually what comprise of the big thing. Because when you're on the world stage, all these things are going to help you in different ways that you will never know. If you really go to a big meeting and suddenly you stop apologizing to someone for a mistake you're constantly making, maybe that'll leave a bad impression and cut out some opportunities on your path. But if you inculcate that small thing in your practice as a regular human being, that can help you a ton. And the third thing I would like to say is that the small things are the big things. That's what I've been saying throughout. That these small things are actually the big thing. First I said that it's a part of the big thing. Now I'm saying that the small thing can be your big thing once you start paying close attention to it. Once you start being intentional about making the small things better. Once you start really thinking about changing the small things, it starts becoming your focus. It starts becoming the big thing. You start living big. You start feeling big. And what that does is, it makes your day. Sometimes, if today was your last day, or if you had just one more day, or if you met one person for the last time ever and he recollected something about you, say about half a century later, he's always going to recollect the small thing. I've seen it when I ask my grandparents or when I ask some elderly person around my community about something they want to recollect about a person or an instance. It's always the small things. even if it's the big things, they're going to remember the smaller details of the big things. That's surprising because it shows that the small things are the big things, because that's what you're going to remember. If you made someone's day by just being a little more intentional, or just helping someone out a bit when you know that you can help someone, instead of walking away by giving a blind eye, you go out, take out some time, listen to them, help them, be a good person, talk good about this person behind their back when maybe you don't do that. When you do these small things, you're going to see that these are the things that are going to make your day. Before you sleep, you're going to recollect this small thing, this small act that you did that made someone's day, that you felt good about, that made you a better person. So that's today's podcast, my friends. Do the small things. They matter. They matter the most. So do it for your self-prestige. Do it because the big things which you are waiting for are actually comprised of small things. And to really change the game in the big things, you need to master your small things. And the last is that the small things are actually the big things. You just have to look at it differently, and it changes your life. So that's today's podcast, my friends. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll meet you again next time. Hey, my friends, did you enjoy this podcast? If you did, do rate, review, and subscribe to it on iTunes or whichever app or application you are using. And if you feel someone in your life needs to hear this message, don't think twice about sharing it. Or if you feel this inspires you to record one of your own podcasts, go ahead and spread the good vibes. Spread the message of your life with good vibes. With good vibes.